Greetings and salutations, everyone. I do hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks, well, they're available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload, shall we? Today's first Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. This is something that happened to my husband and I about 9 years ago. We had gone to watch a friend's band play. We were heading home from downtown Dallas. I don't live in the Metroplex any longer, so not personal info. It was around 1 in the morning, but we still had plans before I was expected home. Still dating at the time. So we headed to his apartment in one of the South Dallas suburbs. This is a pretty well-populated suburb, but by the time we got close to his apartment, the roads were pretty much empty. We exited the highway and turned onto the street that led to his apartment. But as soon as we passed the traffic light under the highway, we both saw it, plain as day, stone sober and wide awake. We both saw a mother effing werewolf type creature exit the neighborhood street and calmly run in about 4 steps across a 4-lane road. It was about 75 yards in front of us, but it wasn't exactly the way I'd imagined a werewolf. It was completely canine, no human features at all except for the fact that it was on 2 legs. The legs were massive and the thing was about 7 feet tall, but the arms reminded me of T-Rex arms. They were small and still hung like dog legs. They seemed very useless if they were trying to attack something. The head was odd as well. Besides being a typical dog color, a grayish-black, the eyes were a bright glowing yellow, even when there were not headlights shining directly into them. It didn't look like the glow an animal gets from lights in their eyes anyway. But the thing that stood out the most to me were the eyes were monocular, like a fish. I saw the eyes clearly, even though he was completely profile to us. I'll never forget how fast this thing was either. The road we were driving on had heavy trees to the right side of us. When it came out, it was running, but crossed this road in just a few steps. It was big enough and effortlessly fast enough to know that a human couldn't have dressed up and done this. There was an open field that it ran into. When my husband and I got to where the trees broke, we both turned our heads to look, but it was long gone by then. Only 4 seconds had passed. I think the only thing that was said was a quiet "what the" by me. More about what this thing looked like. It was more menacing than a wolf, but to be honest, much less scary than what I'd imagine a werewolf to be. When it was running across the road, I didn't get that sense that it cared that we saw it, or that it was even trying that hard to cross before we got closer. I did not feel fear as if we were threatened, only a disbelief really. And again, It's not like we were in a rural area by any stretch of the imagination. When we passed the tree line, his apartment complex was literally another 150 yards up or so. We hurried in and didn't exactly get to our plans. We basically just sat in silence, trying to rationalize, I guess. Still to this day, I often think to myself, really, did this really happen? But as soon as I close my eyes and think about it, those bright yellow eyes are still there. Today's second Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. I used to live in Eugene, Oregon, and about 6 years ago, my friend and I saw something unexplainable. We were driving down a country road to a friend's house when I saw something in the middle of the road. It at first appeared to be a large dog, and having grown up with mastiffs, I became worried about the animal. As we got closer, I began to feel a chill down my spine and an uneasiness. It was dusk, but I did not have my car lights on, but could see the animal clearly still. It was the height of a deer, with a curved spine and long, thin legs. When it moved, it appeared as the animal's bones were broken, or the movements were unnatural, but the animal made no cries of pain or appeared to be hurt. The animal had black fur that looked like the worst mange I'd ever seen. The naked patches of skin looked wrong and the bones pushed out from under it. The animal finally turned to look at my car. It had a long nose and was drooling from its open mouth where there appeared to be large canines. We didn't speak because as it turned to look at us, its eyes were a glowing red. I know that sounds like BS from a fake ghost story, but they were. My headlights were not on to illuminate the animal's eyes like that. It crossed slowly in front of my car, and as it disappeared over the side, my passenger yelled, "Pull up and see what the heck that is." As I pulled up, the animal was gone, and there was only a small drainage pipe in an open field beyond that. We got to our friend's house, and after some praying to him and his parents, what we had seen, his father simply chuckled and said, "Oh, we see those out here sometimes," and continued to eat dinner. Has anyone else in Eugene, Oregon area seen something similar to this? If my passenger hadn't been there, I would have thought my imagination had got the better of me. I'm lucky to know what I saw was real and, in my opinion, unexplainable. Today's third Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. I live alone. I have done so for about a year now after breaking up with my ex. It's been mostly great to have my own space in my own house, where I'm free to do whatever I want, whenever I want. That being said, I spend most of my time in the evenings upstairs playing video games and watching YouTube videos. I don't really have a social life, but that's just fine with me. I've never felt uneasy in my own home until about a month ago, when I went to the kitchen at night to get a drink. Now my kitchen is overlooked by my overgrown garden, which is in turn overlooked by some woods. It's a fairly rural neighborhood, and it's very quiet at night, which makes it a friendlier environment for some of the wildlife to come out. I've seen often fox, deer, and I've been woken at night to the scream of fox at 4 a.m. once. And they like to hang around outside in front of my house because there's easy access from there to my back garden and then into the woods. My kitchen has this big window which looks right into the garden, but at night when the lights are on, I can barely see more than a few feet ahead of the window as it acts like a mirror. Well, on this particular night, a few feet ahead of me that I could see was all this thing needed to make itself visible. I hadn't noticed it until I looked up and out the window after making my drink. It was a bipedal creature, skinny but very tall with hind legs. It had no hair. Sounds ridiculous to say, but it looked similar to a werewolf Lupin transformed into the Prisoner of Azkaban movie. only taller and more humanoid, and its mouth was tiny but protruded, similar to a canine's. It had no ears from what I could see. It just stayed there looking at me with these completely white, tiny eyes. Its head was tilted to the side and its bottom jaw was slightly open. I didn't even know how long it had been there. I was in my kitchen for about a minute before I even bothered looking out the window. I just froze. You think you can rationalize what you do in situations like this, but I froze in terror. I was telling myself to move, but my body felt this icy cold. I could not do anything. Eventually, after like 10 seconds, it felt much longer, I managed to move and run out of the room, not daring to take my eyes off this creature. And as I did so, its head rotated to follow me as I left to the comfort of upstairs, which was the creepiest thing about it. Since that time, which was about a month ago, I have not gone into my kitchen at night, save for a few necessary occasions. I'm preparing everything I need before it gets dark and then staying upstairs for the rest of the night. If I absolutely need to go to the kitchen, I'll rush so that I can get out as soon as possible. That feeling you get when you turn all of the lights off before you have to go back upstairs and feel like you're going to get chased upstairs by some unknown entity. That's the feeling I get when I need to go into my kitchen at night. Today's fourth Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. My husband worked shift work. One morning, at around 5 in the morning, he had just left our bungalow to walk to the bus stop and catch the first of 2 buses to work. Being summer, it was very bright for that time of morning, and he told me he was just collecting his thoughts, thinking about the tasks he had to do on that day, and the list of groceries I had asked him to get, when from above and a little way off, he heard a rustling of leaves from a tree behind a wall of a garden. Thinking it was a squirrel, he looked up, and he told me he thought he was seeing things. What he said he saw was a black, small-bodied, sleek figure walking, or running, on 4 skinny legs, resembling a monkey, with a long rat-like tail. It looked like the head was round with pointed ears either side of it. My husband couldn't see the creature's facial features as it moved with extreme speed. When it hit the ground and scurried away from my husband, he said he swore he saw what he thought was a wing in the brief time he saw the creature airborne, which appeared to be pinned back to the side of the creature's body on the nearest side to him. My husband is a practical, no-nonsense type of guy who is somewhat skeptical about the supernatural and paranormal, although he doesn't disbelieve altogether. He was slightly reluctant to tell me in case I would think he was pulling my leg. We discussed the incident that night when he got home. He had already texted me about it, and I was intrigued. I did ask my husband if it could have been a large bat. On talking about it and thinking it through properly, we concluded it could not have been a bat, as this creature that my husband saw had 4 legs and a rat-like tail. We walked that route all the time to get out of the estate to the shops. Before and since this incident, we have never seen a creature like that. We are both natives to London, and we are unaware of such a creature even existing, so we are still trying to work out what this creature could have been. Today's 5th Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. I was sitting in the woods on a tree trunk on my property in Cadillac, Michigan. It was, I'd say, 9 in the morning, September of 2014, when I heard a twig snap. I looked behind me and saw a creature. The creature was unlike anything I had ever seen. My heart was pounding and I started to sweat when I saw this thing. The creature was orange, like a common fox up here, but stood easily 7 feet tall, with eyes the color of a golden coin. The creature had human hands, but they were covered in orange fur, and had claws, but also had hooves on its legs that I could hear when it ran. I only had a few seconds to see it before it ran away, hearing the distance of its hooves hitting the ground and fading away. That same day, I tried to get my neighbor's hunting cam, but they said there was no video card in it. But I hope someone else has seen this creature. Now here's something that I'd like you guys to think about. And it's important. This is an honest reason why I think sharing encounters are important. Because by hearing these encounters or collecting these encounters and, over the time period, you can start putting puzzle pieces together. I have heard a couple of different encounters or experiences with a dog-like creature with hooves. I've heard from DJ about a, lack of a better word, foxman. And that's terrifying. So I think by sharing these, collecting these, and putting all of the little, because a lot of them are tiny puzzle pieces together, we will get that great big picture one day. I hope I'm making sense. It sounded good in my head, and it kind of makes sense in my head, but I don't know about outside of my head. I don't know. Moving on. Today's 6th Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. 10 or so years ago, I was driving with my brother in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It was late at night, and we were going to grab some food. We were the only car on this road, which was not abnormal due to the time of night. The right side of the road was wooded with trees, and on the left was a fence that ran parallel to the road. A giant wolf-like creature ran full speed in front of the car. It came from the right wooded area and was booking it toward the fence. This thing was at least 12 feet tall minimum. It was hunched over, running insanely fast on its back legs. The legs were bent backward and extremely muscular. The only way I could describe it was they were bent backwards in a way that a demon legs are depicted. The legs were furless except for the near bottom, where there were patches of fur. It was wearing a brown hooded cloak that was tattered along the bottom edge. The hood covered its head and midsection, leaving the legs fully exposed. Some sort of elongated snout was emerging from the front of the hood. It was square like a wolf's and had fur. The thing never turned to look at us. It was running toward the fence, jumped, and cleared it. I have never seen anything jump so high in my life. I spent the next couple of moments trying to process what I had just seen. I thought there was some kind of logical explanation until my brother said, "Did you see that?" and described in detail exactly what I had seen. The only thing that differed was he saw what he described as long claws emerging from in front of the cloak. Seeing this thing terrified me. 10 years later, I'm still terrified. The cloak and the backward legs were something I really focused on. The cloak was cloth, and I am certain it was not fur or anything else. My husband seems to think what I described is a Wendigo, which I am not sure the description matches at all. It didn't have antlers, which they don't, and from what I looked at, those things live way up north. He did mention there were a group of Algonquin-speaking people, Chesapeake tribe, living in Virginia Beach many, many years ago. Break time! Really quick, and I wasn't being a jerk, even though it sounded jerkish, but maybe I was. Being Mohawk Native American, and being that I have family members who live on the Aquasachie Reservation in upstate New York, which is, guess what? A Mohawk Res. And guess what? There's a museum up there. And guess what? There's a beautiful painting that was painted from an elder, probably 100 years ago, of the depiction of a Wendigo. A Wendigo does not look like what Reddit or creepypastas depict. What people are seeing is more of an Anglo-looking creature. You know, when the Anglos crossed and they brought their lore over with them, yet they forgot what their lore looked like and want to add on to Native American lore, which is bothersome, because not only does it kind of just screw with the identification of cryptids, but it messes with traditional lore, something that people take seriously. I take it seriously. It drives me nuts when I see or hear people, I think I saw a Wendigo, or I think I saw a skinwalker in Virginia. No, you didn't, unless a, you know, shaman of the Navajo Nation went to Virginia on vacation and you really, really upset him and he practiced some black magic. But the Wendigo does not have antlers. And yeah, I know there's the Wendigo and the Antler movie that came out, and that's really just disturbing. But when a Wendigo, from what I've learned at the museum and talking with elders, it is an emaciated human being who has given into the worst form of sacrilege, eating human family flesh, or just eating flesh from a human, usually from a family member or someone they deeply care of. They become emaciated. Their teeth are ragged and jagged. They're not like sharp, like animal, you know, they're just jagged. The next form is a large bipedal, almost looks like a white Sasquatch, but with a demon-like tail and red glowing eyes. And then finally, the last depiction of a Wendigo is just the wind, just the spirit wind. That when you hear that howl through the trees, when you're alone walking through that forest, dense snow, cold, shivering, and you hear that howl, and you know the Wendigo is near. So, I don't think this lady saw a Wendigo. And I'm not laughing. I am laughing because I hate Reddit. I hate it. It ruined creepypastas and Reddit. They really took such a beautiful science. Cryptozoology is a beautiful science. And it ruined it. It really did. And these authors that just, they proclaim to know. Because why? Because I read another creepypasta that this guy wrote. And it's so amazing. And guess what? The Skinwalker and the Wendigo, they are demons with antlers. They live everywhere throughout the world. Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. That was not my goal. It bothers me. And it would bother you if someone was talking about your ancestral traditions. So, let's move on. Today's 7th Dogman / cryptid canine experience. Let me first say and foremost, I am a man of logic and explanation. I've never believed in ghosts or other cryptid beings really in my life, but something happened the other night that really made me feel weird. So I live somewhere between the country and town here in Florida, and see an abundance of wildlife, fox, coyote, raccoons, all very normal to see. Since there is a large fox population around here and most people have chickens, everyone has large dogs, including myself. I have a 70-pound boy and a 60-pound girl pit bull. They are fearless. They know this is their property, and they protect it as such, alerting me if they hear something. And if they do, I open the door and they run out and chase off whatever it is. So the other night I woke up randomly and it was disturbingly quiet outside. Like, not a single cricket. My dogs were not on my bed like they usually were. All of a sudden a howl like I had never heard went off, like a siren that sent a chill down my spine. Like a deep yell almost, but definitely from an animal. I turned the lights on in my house to see my pits at the back of their dog crate shaking. I've never seen a look on my dog's face like that before. Purely terrified. So I turned all the lights back off, grabbed a flashlight, and looked out the back window. What I saw about 200 yards off by the tree line near the back of my property was a dog thing. I vaguely saw it, but it was very similar to a hyena build, with a large amount of fur on its neck, like a mane almost, and skinny back legs. Its head looked very wolf-like, with erect ears and a large skull. It was friggin' huge. It was so black it was hard to make out distinct characteristics, but its presence scared basically any living thing that was around it, seemed that night. The next morning, I went to the spot I saw this creature, but saw no tracks or hair or anything. But I know what I saw. I never saw anything like it before. Also, we have been having a lot of dead dogs in the area. Dogs that are large and that are being killed by something. Other people think it's coyotes or feral dog, but I think it was that thing that I saw. Just seeing my dog so terrified really scared me. Today's 8th Dogman / cryptid canine encounter. This took place about 10 years ago in Andover, Minnesota, in January. I was with my mom in our Suburban. I was about 17 at the time. It was 10 at night, with very little traffic. It was icy, so we were traveling pretty slow, somewhere around 20 to 30 miles an hour. There is, or was, one light there on the corner of the intersection across from the lake. What we saw was some sort of canine creature which passed only maybe 20 feet in front of us, which remained completely pitch black in the light of the streetlight and the headlights of the Suburban. Besides this oddity, the creature had legs not including its body taller than the hood of the SUV. It most definitely was not a deer or a moose, as both of us had of course seen those, and were very familiar with them. The shape of this thing was all wrong. The extra oddity is it was big enough to cross the entire 4-lane road with a median in the center in about 4 leaps. It stopped briefly, standing directly underneath the light pole of the intersecting street, which is when both of us got our best look at it. Even directly under the light, it was nothing but a pure dark creature. I don't have an explanation for such a large creature in that area. I had lived there 17 years and neither me nor my mom had ever witnessed anything of the sort. It shocked us both. To this day, I don't have a clue of what it was. And to be honest, the thought of whatever it is makes me feel very uncomfortable. If for no other reason, it's just the sheer size of the creature. Tonight's final Dogman / cryptid encounter. I live in a small town of a few hundred people in the middle of nowhere in northern India. It's surrounded by a huge forest on the western side and farmlands on the other three. My house is positioned on the southeastern corner of the village. Last night around 2 in the morning, I was awakened to this blood-curdling scream coming from the east. I think it was loud enough to wake the entire village, though I have not heard anyone talking about it yet. This scream sounded like nothing I had ever heard before, like a mix between a scream and a howl. Mind you, there are no animals in our area except stray dogs and wild boar. This scream was loud enough to give me goosebumps. I quickly turned off all of my lights and looked out the window which faces the south. And that's when I saw it, about 100 meters away from me. It looked like a canine-like creature running on 2 legs. Its fur looked silvery white under the moonlight. It was running at a very high speed and crossed from where I saw it into the forest in about 30 seconds flat. But in the middle of its path, when it was closest to my home, it stopped for a few seconds and looked in my direction. I'm still not sure if it was looking at me or something else. One thing that I've been thinking about is how slowly its legs moved, yet so fast it ran. This could mean that the creature was very big, like 10 feet tall. I am very scared right now, as my village has this saying that we should never look outside of our windows at night, as evil spirits may see us and enter our home. I asked around my neighborhood, and many of them were awoken by the scream. Some old guy told me that a creature is a Rakshasa, which means some kind of demon. I have only been here for 6 months, and these people told me hearing screams is a regular occurrence here, and that the Rakshasa will haunt whoever lays its eyes upon. I am frickin' scared now. I am going to install CCTV cameras around my entire house. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed this early morning, middle of the night bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. And with that, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.